The next part is answer to Barry Shahagan's questions. It says see attached email, and there's copies here if anyone wants one. That's the agenda.
Yeah, they're part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Made on public record.
The letter is to me and the Select Board of Newport Center from Barry Shahagan. First off, with respect, we request from the town clerk and selectmen cooperation on the following. Please do not use semantics to avoid answering questions, and I and we the people do know all the specific terms you use in town office to label and describe financial expenses and other details of the town business. The job of the selectman and town clerk, according to our constitution, is to aid the people in business of town and be accountable at all times. Please work with us. Decisions that were made resulting in the water sewer bill increase of 2015 cost of water users approximately an additional $2,800 per water user in the last few years with no clear, responsible explanation.
Reasonable.
Uh-huh.
Reasonable.
Reasonable explanation. I may need the water.
Is there something here?
It's a,
Drinking fountain or something?
just water.
You do dry out
No,
when you
it
have to
comes-
read something.
Huh?
You do dry out when you have
Yeah.
to read something.
You got a paper?
No accountability on the reason why we got this increase in the first place. To add insult to injury, even though the water project was completed over 6 months ago, it has been decided the water users must wait an additional 2 years before the new billing using water meters will be implemented. All the while, the water users continue to pay an inflated water sewer bill, $300 per quarter. That's wrong, it's $295 per quarter. This, I estimate, will cost the users another approximate $1,400 more than they should have to pay if the new billing were to be implemented. The following questions concerning the Aldridge and Elliott documents, Town of Newport. Thank you. That's better. Town of Newport, new water source, preliminary assessment, May 2011. This assessment cost the town water users, correct me if I'm wrong, approximately $20,000. Question 1. Were any of the 3 water source alternatives from the table 4.1.4, page 4-2 from the preliminary assessment implemented? Yes. One of the water source alternatives from the preliminary assessment was implemented.
What did you do? Exactly.
We resurrected that.
We resurrected the well on top of the hill that wasn't being used. And in doing so, we had to put in an arsenic plant at the same time. Question 2, if so, when? It was started in early 2012, completed project mid-year 2013. If any were, please provide supporting documents, ledger, journal items, expenses, and details of what was done. Numbers
skip
alone
that.
do not tell us enough. We need specifics on what the money was spent on any work such as labor, construction, consultant materials, and any relevant expense. And I think you have that, right? So.
Yeah, if anybody wants them, I can give them to them.
Question 3, was Steve Barrett, Selectman Chair, delegated to represent the Select Board for the meetings on 2011, 12, 13, and 14, as was done in 2018, when the decisions were made that caused a deficit of $400,000? No, Steve was not delegated to represent the Select Board in 2011, 12, 13, or 14. Current deficit for the water system that users have to pay. What exactly is the current deficit for the water project as of this date today, August 1st, 2019? The last water project has been completed and there is approximately $6,000 left over from this project, no deficit. The loan on this that the water users are responsible for is $283,000.
So where did that 283 come from? From what
Our share of having that put in.
contradicts what Denise said. She said the grants covered everything. Why is it a $200,000 deficit?
I never said the grant covered anything. The $745,000 bond vote, all but $283,000 was covered.
We had to have a percentage of it ourselves. It weren't all free.
Okay.
Right, which everybody has known about.
And that's why we had to have the bond vote for it.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Question 5, were any new amounts added to the water fund deficit in the last 2 years, 2018 and 19? There were no new amounts added to the water fund deficit of 2018 and 19. Number 6. What exactly is the original agreement amount, $44,000, for specifically from the journal with descriptions, contracts, consultations, notes, materials, etc., in detail what the money was or is to be used for? The $44,000 is the original amount to get the water project started, and Denise has a copy of that.
Yeah, I don't know if you want copies of them. If you do, I can provide them to you.
That's all right. I can skip that.
Part B, net change for prior amendments, $84,000. What was the money to be spent on, specifically contract services, etc., from journals or whatever? However, records on these items are kept, documents with numbers only and labels we are not familiar with are unacceptable. We need information that describes the services, materials, consultations, and any other costs involved in the expenditures. Denise has copies of the amendments describing what services each changes are for. She has a copy for you if you want it.
Great, I'll take that.
Number 7.
Can you pass this down to?
Yes, I will.
Thanks.
We kind of put 7, A, B, C, and D together, so I'm going to read all the questions and then I'll give you the answer. What will be the exact date the monitoring will end and we will have the new billing active? Will the B part, will the select board and clerk, who it may concern, need additional time after the 2-year monitoring period ends to process the monitoring information to create and implement the new billing plan? If C part is, if so, how long? And D part, what date will all the above be completed and a new billing implemented? Excuse me 1 second. Again, 2 years is what is recommended by the USDA and our engineers. We would like to see 4 seasons of date before we even think about billing based on usage. It is unrealistic for us to be able to pin down an exact date for this to begin. We hope that we will not need more time after the 2-year period, and no one has a crystal ball, so impossible to pin this down exactly. We have
Doesn't
started
require a
talking.
crystal ball.
Don't.
You know, it only...
You want me to finish or not, Barry?
Yeah, I'll finish. Go ahead
Don't
and finish.
interrupt me or I will stop right here.
You're not telling me anything. You might as well stop.
We
You
have
haven't said
started
anything.
talking to different agencies about developing a rate structure, but have to collect much more data.
I don't buy it. That's not an answer. I don't buy that you can't have a date, because we've been strung out, we got strung out for 4 years, at a cost of $400,000 deficit for water hauling, which doesn't make sense to me. And you did one little project and forgot about it. Now we got this never-ending bill that stays there, and it's 300, and I'm wondering how much, it's too much. It's not gonna end. I need to know a date. You can say, okay, we're gonna monitor it, and 2 years from now will be a certain date. No, we don't know, we're gonna change it. That's what bothers me. I don't see any reason why you can't have a date. It's 2 years from now, is 2021, and at that time, we'll finish it. Your monitoring's finished, you'll do it. No, it's gonna drag out and drag out, because I believe this money you're collecting from the water users is going other places. And there's plans for it. I'm gonna be watching. That's what I feel. There's no sympathy, never a thought of the people that have had to endure the hardship of this bullshit, especially the water hauling, which is enormous debt, and why it just got strung out. Now we're going through the same thing over again. 2 years, and I know it's not gonna happen in 2 years, and you can't tell us, if you're telling me you can't tell us when it's gonna happen, that's my answer, that it's gonna go on for years and years and years. That's all I can say. And why can't it be a year? Aldridge,
Would you like me to finish your questions?
Huh?
Would you like me to finish your
Not
questions?
until I finish responding to that.
You've said the same thing 4 times, so I already know what you're saying.
No,
You
I'm not-
want a date.
I
You
don't
want a date. I don't have a date. I don't have a
You
crystal ball.
gotta have a date.
I don't have a date. I don't have
All
a
right?
crystal
You're
ball.
not being accountable, in my opinion, when you should be able to. And we need accountability on
Then take
that.
this board to court.
If I gotta pay that for 2 years, we'll go to court.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You think it's that simple?
No, I don't think
Denise,
it's that simple.
50 hours of work. You'll have to go to the lawyer several times, because you can't put you on the stand, or him, or even Steve. You'll have to be versed, and you'll never make it to a trial, because it's too much. It's a lot of work, and I don't want to go to a trial. I want the water bill reduced. But I will take action if I know I'm gonna have to pay this for 2 years with this, Elliot Aldridge recommends, and he's making money all the time, yeah, more contracts for me, I recommend, it's the longest period
All
of
right,
time.
enough. Let's hear
Anyway,
what else
that's,
you gotta say.
the water
Come on.
bill has gotta be reduced. People in this town have paid way too long, and now it's just another vague, endless put off. Too much money, too much money. I don't care what you do, reduce, I think that the water bill should be reduced to 100
Well,
and
you
a
said
quarter
you've
a
heard
month.
enough, so I've heard enough. We'll move on. Next question.
All right, I'm not getting my accountability at all. That's what it's about.
Set the tax rate for 2019 and address penalties for late homestead
That's it.
filings.
You're not gonna finish the questions?
You told me you didn't want to hear anymore. You'd heard
No,
enough.
no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I
Are
said,
you going to interrupt me again?
well, if I need a discussion, I will. This
If
is
you're
an
gonna
open
interrupt me
meeting.
again, I'm
No,
gonna move
interrupt-
on with the rest of this
This
meeting.
is not interrupting, it's a discussion. I needed to discuss the point you didn't want us to
And I
discuss.
told you that I didn't have a crystal ball and I couldn't tell you a date.
Okay, and I responded to that. Let's go on to the next question.
All right, then I will move on to the
It's a
next
discussion.
question.
Jerry, it's too much of this, well, shut up and don't go on anymore, in different ways.
I get sick of listening to the same thing over and over and over.
Well, what am I listening to you? Same thing over and over and over. Delays, lack of accountability. So, that's why.
What
that's
are
why
the
we're talking.
expenses the water users will be responsible for? We know so far price per year, price per gallon, and services fees.
I'm into it.
Are there any others? The water users are responsible for all expenses related to the water. A breakdown of these is in the town report under the financial statements. 8A, how exactly will the service fee?
No. I didn't see that in there. I didn't see a breakdown of the expenses. I don't want just a label in a price. I want to know what it means. That's my problem. I don't like getting documents to say, well, $18,000 for Exhibit A, number 2. Okay. This is for the building I'm talking about.
Yes.
The billing, okay.
The water
well,
department is a standalone company, Barry. Those are the expenses that the water department has to pay for.
We're water expenses,
So you have
postage,
to-
USD loan payments.
Right, so you have to collect enough money from the water users to pay all of those bills
I
each and every
understand.
year. Okay.
So my question was, how is, so you're gonna take 164,000, that's gonna be for
That
the
was for last
service fee?
year,
That's how
Barry.
you will calculate the service fee?
I don't know what, I have no idea. We don't know how to do a rate structure. We've just barely started talking to people to help us do a rate structure. We have to have a flat rate, and then, as an example, the town of Troy just completed this last year. Their flat rate for water and sewer is $212.25. That's if you use
For what
no-
period? A year?
A quarter. That's if you don't turn on a faucet, don't flush a toilet. Anything
Per
over-
user? Per user, right? Of course.
If you would let me just kind of finish my explanation, and then you might understand it.
Well, I mean, you know,
If
if
you
you
have
want to,
the-
I won't know what to ask.
If-
You know, I'm not trying to give you hard, you say $200, I wanna know per user, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to interrupt you. Answer that and then continue. I mean, so it's
Again,
two-
I start. The town of Troy pays, per user,
Okay, great.
$212.25 per quarter if you use no water, no sewer at all. Anything over the use of 5,000 gallons of water in that 90-day period, you have to pay, and I don't know what their rate is per 1,000 gallons or per 100 gallons. You pay so much for every 1,000 gallons that you use over 5,000 gallons. That's how their rate structure works.
So this could be actually even more than what we're
Yes,
paying
ma'am.
now. That's what I feared.
Count on it. And, you
Depends
know,
on if you use more water than the average person. yeah.
My
Yeah,
husband,
let's-
my
let's-
husband has a house in Troy. That's how I know. We don't use any water, we don't use any sewer. It's a house that is empty, and that's what we pay per quarter.
So you're complaining.
For no
this
use
couldn't be
whatsoever.
more?
Now, that's only in talking to the town clerk in the town of Troy.
Yeah.
How the system works is you have to establish a rate structure
Yeah,
based on data that you collected. In Mike reading the meters, just last time, there was a glitch in the meter readings. Your usage, if you would calculate your usage, the number of days is wrong. Because for whatever reason, from the machine to the computer, something got screwed up. Nothing that we did, just working out the bugs, and it dropped one of the readings. So if you would have paid, let's say we would hurry up and do a rate structure without collecting the appropriate data, everyone would have been charged for 71 days of usage twice. Now, that's something that we find out in doing, that's the purpose of collecting data, that's the purpose of doing this. That's the first thing. Then we have to establish a rate structure based on the bills that we have to pay each and every year. Because the taxpayers do not pay anything relative to the water, it is only the water users and the sewer users. So there's a lot to it. We have talked to a company that is willing to help us. Vermont Rural Water is willing to help us. Those are two free organizations that Mike and I have reached out to that will be helping us down the road. But there again, we have to provide them with all of the information that we have so that they can build a base. Then you have to change your ordinance to reflect that. And you have to be careful that, you do everything right so that you don't get taken into court for doing something wrong, as the city of Newport did. So, yeah, but we are moving forward, we are trying.
Well, thank you for that
yeah,
information.
that was informative information.
So basically, I'm gonna read 8A and B. How exactly will the service fee for the municipal water users be calculated? And 8B is how exactly will the price per gallon charges to the municipal water users be calculated?
I just answered
And
that.
basically Denise just answered that. Is that, are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy, it was, that was some information that I'm sure a lot of people needed to hear, as well as myself.
And again, Denise had looked this up, and she said we know from talking to other towns that there will be a base rate along with a price per gallon after that. And that's how they're doing it. Yes,
Since I was on the water committee, I just want to remind everybody that the reason we're in this position that we're in now is there was a decision to make to have water meters. Otherwise, it would have been a simple calculation where everybody pays the same amount. But there was, within the design, the idea that we would have some way of monitoring the amount that people use and that people would be billed on the amount they use in order to reduce the demand on the water system and hopefully take care of any future costs having to do with increasing the amount of flow from the system and everything else, which had a cost involved in it. And I think from what I understand, we also have found that there are places that we didn't know of where there are leaks and other kinds of things because of, that decision around the water meters. So I'm just adding this in here because we could have gone a very easy route, which would have been just to put in a new water well and incur that without going through all of this of trying to make. It became a fairness argument. Why should I have to pay this much because I barely flush my toilet every day and I'm the only one taking a shower? And then you'd have there were a lot of people that felt like they were paying way too much, and other people were using up water in their lawn, filling up swimming pools and all kinds of things, and they all paid the same amount. We came to this decision, or came to this current process, because the community wanted to have a different setup so people felt it was fair.
And it's important to know that the select board relied heavily on the water board and their recommendations in going forward. And I don't know if people are aware of this, if I could just say one more thing. Fred and Mike monitor behind the scenes, which people don't seem to realize, is that daily they are on the water, on the sewer. They check it once a day, twice a day. If they suspect a leak, they go around, they look, they walk the lines again to see if the ground is soft.
Anytime you have something underground, it's,
They go above and beyond to
Hard to
try
find.
You can't find it till it comes up.
right.
If you do, it's gonna be a long way away.
I remember having a neighbor that said, I think I'm gonna build a pond out back. I've got a hell of a spring coming out of my drain out there. And I said, you've got a water leak. Oh, no. Yeah, you got a water leak. So we got him to Mike to test the water. Sure enough, there was chlorine in it. His water was leaking right above the drain around his house. It was going right out of it. He thought he had a hell of a spring. How long it had been going on, I don't know, but he finally said something to me. He says, you got a water leak. I mean, it's,
So those guys try, they're on it 7 days a week.
we had this situation down street here, and the guy claims that he called the state police, but I don't think he did because they always call Fred. But he called the town garage at 7:30 at night and said there's a water leak. Well, nobody's working.
Yeah, nobody works at some day, in winter time, but.
So in the
That's
last,
why you got the notes in the water bills.
so at the
with
last
Mike's
billing,
cell
we
phone.
sent a note out that with Mike's phone number, if anyone has a problem, call this number, especially at night, so we don't drain the reservoir.
But usually the
We're all
state police-
trying.
State police gets a call, I get a call.
Yeah.
And I'm a water user. I'd like to see it go down. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't, but I'm sitting on this side, thinking, Jesus Christ, it's just, everything costs so damn much. And the state, when they stick their nose in, and I know Rick will agree, and if Steve was here, he would agree. Steve and I have had this discussion before. We'd like to tell the state to go, but you can't. I'm telling you, you can't. We've come close a few times, but you can't.
I think
Number 9, on board. Let's see, number 9. What does on board mean? Exactly in reference to Steve Barrett's statement regarding Aldridge and Elliott. On board means they are ready, willing, and able to help us if we need their help. On board for how long? They're on board as long as they are our engineers. In what capacity? As our engineers. At what cost? The cost is totally dependent on what we ask of them and the billing rates at that time of them.
So then they don't have, there's no set rate, just have them there? I forget what you call that.
That's the question.
Holding
they're
fee.
not like on a retainer,
We
no.
we don't have them on
Retainer,
retainer, because that would cost us even more.
Yeah, no.
So they're,
Probably by the hour, I would imagine.
So, as you call them, on call, sort of, right?
Right.
All right?
Yeah, the cost is totally dependent on what we ask of them and the billing rates at the time.
All right?
And something like that would be discussed openly if you needed to do that, right?
Each and every time.
Are there any more items agreed on in the agreement with Aldrich and Elliott beyond the water manual from amendment that would be included in the statement Steve made on board? No more agreements with Aldrich and Elliott beyond the water operation and maintenance manual.
Very good. I'd like to make one more comment. One of the biggest issues here, and everyone says, well, water leaks, this and that, is deficits. And I'm got my eyes open all over that. I mean, how everyone could go 4 years paying $6,000 a month to haul water instead of fixing the problem. Okay, you did something in 2012, what happened in 2013 and 14? And then I see that you put a solar, instead of a mandatory essential project like water, hey, let's put a solar garden in and spend $250,000 or more, you know, and not fix the water. I mean, that, and just let the deficit keep getting bigger and bigger. And nobody wanted to do it. And I remember how reluctant Steve was to even stop it. It's gonna cost you $64,000 if we do that. Oh, instead we'll pay $400,000. I mean, that's a lot of money, and how it could even happen every month. But now, I'll tell you, I'm gonna keep my eye on the books at all times. If I ever see that, I question it. I question it, because I think nobody knew it was happening. It just happened, and it was neglected. You must admit it was neglected. I don't care any reason why it should have happened. And I believe with that amount of money, it's a given there was corruption involved, but I can never prove it. With that amount of money, $400,000, it was happening. People come out of the woodwork for that kind of money, and they come up with ways to hide the money. You know, that amount of money, it's a given. But you know, now I'm going to I'm not finished, Dwight, and now I'm going to look at things, and I was publishing the payables every month. I want to watch them. Everyone else want to watch them. You see something like that happening every month that doesn't make sense, I'm going to talk about it. So that's what I can do, because that whole deficit, there's no recourse on it. It's gone. It's done. You can only learn a lesson. Keep your eyes open and ask questions when big expenses come around, instead of just nobody knows, no one comes to meetings, no one looks at the numbers. Well, that's one thing I can change. I can show people the numbers, and maybe they'll look at it. And I can look at it, and I can ask questions. Now, that's what I'm going to get out of that, and it disturbs me, that deficit, that large deficit, which is part of our, is going to be part of our payment in the future. Still, $200,000. It's got to be paid. It's going to come out of our monthly fee, and that bothers me. But nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? Nothing I can do about it except, you know, watch and try to make sure if I see anything like that, I question it. That's what disturbs me, and a lot of other people. You know, I don't know how many people realize that was the reason we got the thing. And to me, I don't know, neglect, corruption, a bunch of things come to my mind, but I can't prove any of it. But something was going on to be neglected for that long.
Anyway, thank you, everybody.
That was
nice.
informative,
Thank
and
you, Jane.
I know the
Thank
people are
you.
going
I
to
know
appreciate
they
that. I
put work in.
published that,
Thank
because,
you.
you know, there's been a lot of questions,
It
you
was
know.
more than I knew.
I mean, I get a little discussion gets heated up, but this is an open meeting, and I'm not going to hate you for it. It was only a discussion. We get out of we heat up a little bit. You know, it's part of the game. I mean, I was told by a lawyer once. You know, I was talking about someone yelling at me or something. She goes, you know, open meeting, you go to court and you say someone yelled at you, swore at you or anything, the judge is going to say, hey, that's what it's about. You know, it's an open meeting. People discuss.
Dwight, did you have something?
Well, yes, I was there for a lot of these discussions having to do with, you know, where things were going, you know, and, you know, I understand your frustration, because I think it was frustration for all of us that were involved in this, is that it was taking so long. And it was a very complex thing that involved a lot of moving parts, and what I mean by that is you had some very strong community people that questioned the need for it, and then there would be question, why are you doing it there? And so pretty soon, we're all in meetings and we're going up and we're, going up the road to look at a place, and we're going over to another place to look at a place. They were talking about taking water from way over under 100. They were talking about doing it right down the road here. All of those things needed to be investigated. It took time to do that.
And you went to those sites.
Yes, I went to those sites, and then, pretty soon you're out of the season in which you can do any of this stuff. You can't do it. I mean, once you're in October, you're into prime rain, and then it's winter, and it's crummy, but there, as far as trying to get the thing moving, there was many people involved in trying to divert it all kinds of different directions that had concerns like you do, different concerns, but they had concerns about where it was going to go and what it was going to be and how much it was going to cost, and all of those things had to be addressed before you could do anything about a bond or even talk to the engineers about what the final design was going to be. It was a long process. Most of the concerns that I saw were driven by a few, people within the community that said they represented a lot of other people in the community, and so they took it upon themselves to take it in different directions. I think that with the select board as it was constituted, I think since then, I think if they had been able to just do it, I think it could have been done in 2 years. But there was no way with the way things were going. Unfortunately, we were having problems with the state approving the use of water, and that made it so we had to truck water. That was a huge expense to the town. It wasn't because anybody here designed it that way, it was because the state of Vermont said we had to get different water. And so we were stuck with those huge bills because of that. And
Can I say something? You're talking about 2015 when everything was engaged, there was an effort
please
made to do it.
lower your voice.
13
I'm not going to talk to you if you keep raising your voice. No, don't, listen, no. I will leave, okay? I'm trying to be, a reasonable person here. You're being unreasonable.
It's a meeting!
We need to move on.
No, but that was
We need to-
2015. They were engaged, everything was, what happened in
Thank you, I'm
2013?
done.
What
We
happened
have
down
an
in
agenda.
2014? Nothing was being done. At
Thank you.
$6,000, $60,000 a week. That's my issue. The deficit drove up and nobody was doing anything. That's it. 2015, you got a valid point. But I'm talking about 13, 14, and 15. Let's see, that's about $300,000
Excuse me,
in
Mary, we
deficit
have an agenda to follow, and we
accumulated.
need to move on, it's time. Set the tax rate for 2019 and address penalties for the late homestead filers. Filters, filers, okay, I got it right.
Each year you have to vote on that, historically in August. Usually you guys go by what the state allows, the maximum the state allows, which is 8%. That's like if somebody files their homestead declaration after April 15th. But it has to be a motion.
And
it
we've
has to be
always stayed with the 8.
with the state
Yes.
standards, yeah.
I make the motion to stay with that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes.
Okay. Now for the tax rate, what I've done is, Steve isn't here, I can just switch over. What I did is, we got our education tax rate, so that's pretty much cast in stone.
I'm surprised they gave it to us that quick.
I know.
So we have to wait.
Some of the towns set their tax rate like last year. That's the tax rate for the education. And then for,
Boy, there ain't a lot of difference between them.
No, there isn't.
There.
No, a lot of towns are getting closer too.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the general fund, I printed out your expenditure report, which you guys get. We have to take this amount and back out all of your appropriations. And I double checked this on the computer too. So the general fund budget, including the listers, is this, less anticipated revenue, which the revenue is like your recording fees, your current use payment, dog licenses, interest earned. That's pretty much all we have. We now have to start a restoration fund, which is a restricted fund as of July 1st. They upped the recording fee. If you record a deed or a mortgage or anything in the land records, it used to be $10 a page.
Really?
Now it's 15 per the state mandated that, and $4 of that, of every 15 you collect, has to go into a restoration fund to be used to like restore your old books and such and home involved. So we can't use that to decrease your tax rate.
Okay,
So we have to raise $199,640, and the grand list that the listers lodged is this right here, $193,127,000. You have to, it's, because it's, so.
It's 1,937,000, not 193,000,000.
Yeah.
It's per hundred, it's per, this, you have to,
per 100.
right,
Right,
this is
yeah.
per hundred,
Yes.
so it's, actually, you
Yeah.
gotta move the you gotta move this
Yeah.
is divided by 100, so.
Yes, yes.
All the property in town is worth 193 million.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
So the general fund, you have to take that divided by, that grand list comes to .1031. Appropriations, the same thing, everything that was voted at town meeting, and in that figure is, remember, we have a truck that we're
Yes.
paying for the fire department.
Yes.
So the same difference, .0961. And then if, you guys can do this on your calculators too if you like. And then the roads, what was voted at town meeting was 717,410 less, all we get for road money that we can count on is your state aid. That's 99,028 for 2019. So that is .3192. So if you add those three figures, plus your homestead tax rate of 1.4497, your residential tax rate would be 1.9681. And then your non-residential, of course, that you have to vote on those three things, plus the non-res, which was 1.4791. So the non-residential is 1.9975. And what I did is Avis was here today, so we put it into the computer to make sure that everything jived. And we were careful, because some towns mixed up their roads and their general fund, so we kind of were mindful of that.
So the 1.99 is the non-homestead.
Yep, non-residential.
okay.
Is that much of an increase from last year?
5 cents.
5 cent increase
Yep,
per 100?
per 100, yeah.
Well, I make a motion, we go to those.
I second it. All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Those opposed?
Okay, so the residential is gonna be 1.9681.
Yes.
So, yeah, we might get our tax bills out a little bit sooner too, this year.
I wouldn't hurry them.
What's that, 1.9.61, what is that?
1.9681, it's your tax rate for the year 2019.
Okay.
And if you were a non-resident, it would be 1.9975, so anybody that has another piece of land somewhere pays that higher rate.
So that's a percent, 1.9,
No, $1.99
$1.99 per 100, what?
per $100 of your assessment.
Yeah.
And that's the increase, is that what it is?
No, that's the tax rate, that's what you're gonna be taxed. That's your tax rate when you get your tax bill. That's what, we're gonna charge you at $1.96, 1.9681 per $100 of your assessment.
Oh, I see. Of the
That's-
house.
That's for the town, the school, everything, for the
So
taxes.
whatever your property is, it's 1.9683 or whatever.
8-1.
They want.
per
That's
100.
it.
Yes, sir? Yep.
Sign orders, review and appropriate journal entries and bank statements.
We've done that.
We've done that. And make the motion to move on again. Unfinished or new business? Chris, do you have anything?
I'm just sitting here, taking up space.
We don't need executive session.
Actually, I had something. Back on this paper, your name's spelled wrong. Just saying.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
Second it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
What time is it?
Great meeting, it was very informative.